very much for attending. Just before we start, I would like to just say that the paper that you've got under private and confidential is being withdrawn. We won't be discussing that tonight. And the reason is there's a wider review of roles going on, which might affect this particular role. So it will either come back at another meeting as it is, or it will come back in as part of a wider structure. So just so it's not really worth discussing it just at the moment. So we're going to you can take that off your agenda. One item left. Oh, sorry, we're not forecasting. I won't repeat that because it's not completely not under PNC anyway. Okay, so I have to start with the evacuation procedures. So in the event of a fire, please carry out following: sound the alarm. If safe to do so, use the appliances. There'll be a signal and there's a door there and a door there. Go. Please exit through the nearest safest exit and report to assembly point G in the Walpath Way car park. Don't leave until you've been tipped off. And I think it'll be Kath or Axon, be one or the other, who will be in charge of ticking you off. So please don't leave until that. Thank you very much. Apologies for absence. We've just got one apology, Councillor Jarvis and substitute Councillor Simmons. So welcome, Caroline. Thank you. Have we got any disposable or pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests? No? Okay, thank you. There's no public participation thus far, as I know. No. And so we go on to the minutes then of the previous meeting. So you'll find those on page 5 and 3. Get that right? Yes. Okay, so page 5, 1 and 5, 2. Have we got any comments on the minutes? Can I have a proposer to accept those then? Thank you, Councillor Waffles, seconded by Councillor Amelia, and all those in favour. Thank you very much. So those are accepted. I'll sign those at the end of the meeting. Thank you. So our first major report is item number 6. It's on page 7, and that's the ledger-related section 106 receipt, specifically for Walden. You may remember that at our previous meeting, we had a whole list of 106 ledger-related receipts that were allocated to be spent in specific areas, and we gave you a list at that time of what had been agreed by the local councils for each of those. This is an additional one that we have for one, and the local members will be deciding, along with the parish council and the county councillor, how it will be spent, and also in discussion with Becky. So have you got any questions on this one? No? Okay, so you can see the recommendation there. Approves or otherwise varies the use of the section 106 receipt in the report of the Director of Leisure and Community Development. And this is a recommendation, from us to the Executive Board, that the Exec Board approves a supplementary estimate of £104,477 to be included with the capital programme for the proposed undertaking as detailed in the report. Yes?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that we met earlier on today, I'm talking here in my capacity as Chair of the Parish Council, and just to dot the I's and cross the T's, that this has become an agenda item for our parish meeting in September, just to confirm that we are happy that the recreation ground can be used for the spend, because obviously we have to get all the due diligence right that side as well.
Is it owned by the Parish Council?
It is, yeah. So that's why I was there in that capacity. But just to say that it's not just being done to.
No, exactly.
The parish will be voting on that, but as I said earlier, I'm sure they're not going to decline an offer of such a chunky money coming our way. So I'm hoping it will be a unanimous decision there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, because there'd already been £41,000 allocated to one, so it's a significant amount of money altogether. So hopefully could get used for a very significant thing that can be done, because we don't often get such a big amount of money. So I'm sure we'll be very happy to hear how it's been spent later on. So thank you very much. So can I have a proposal for those recommendations, please? Thank you, Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Simmons. Those in favour? Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Very much. So it's yes. So we move on then to the local. So the Local Visitor Economy Partnership elected in the forum. You'll remember that at again at the previous meeting we looked at this and agreed that we should be part of this forum. This is just to say that we note the establishment of the elected member forum, and as part of the Local Visitor Economy Partnership, LVEP, new acronym to learn, and nominates a councillor to represent the interests of North Warwickshire Borough Council on the forum. So if we agree that in principle, we'll sort out who would like to be that representative outside of the meeting. So anybody got any questions on that? Okay, can I see a proposer and a seconder for that? Proposed, Councillor Neely, seconded Councillor Singh. Those in favour? Any against? Okay, thank you very much. So the next report is the fixed penalty notice charge increase. That's item number 8. And you can see there's a table of what the proposed new charges should be. And we've got minimum online in case we've got any questions. So over to you, councillors. Yeah, Councillor Jones, then Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions, really. The first one is, could you tell me how many FPNs we actually issue and how frequently we issue them? Secondly, I don't understand what the duty of care is. That's probably just my lack of knowledge. If you could tell me what the duty of care is, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And the third one, on the litter charges, where there's a statutory fee. I don't understand how that fits in with what we've got a current fee of £65, but a statutory fee of £100. So how do the two work? So, thank you. That was it.
Okay, thanks. So we've got 3 questions. Can you take them, Milan, or is it? Yes, you can take them. Thank you.
Yes, of course, through you, Chair. Yes, so I think the first query was how many we've done. We've not, in all honesty, we've not done a lot. Last year, I think we did 1 fixed penalty notice. The year before, we did 2 prosecutions and 2 fixed penalty notices. The environmental crime officer started his role a couple of weeks ago, which is what we're really hoping so he's going to be the main concentration. So hopefully he'll come to one of these meetings, or we'll set something up where you guys meet him and we'll introduce him to you, so that you've got somebody to go to with regard to that. There are 3 cases we've taken to that we've sent over to legal also to review for fixed penalty notices as well. So hopefully we'll have a few that we'll issue out the next couple of weeks. On your second query on the duty of care, so with regard to duty of care, it's if somebody hasn't done the checks with regard to them having a waste carrier license. So you've provided your waste to somebody who's somebody that's come to your property that you found on Facebook or anything like that, and you have given them your waste. You've paid a fee, so it all looks above board to you. But if you've not checked that they've got a waste carrier license on the Environment Agency website, you failed in your duty of care, which is where that fixed penalty notice comes through. And I do apologise. I don't think I heard the full question on the littering.
Yeah, I was just asking basically what the difference is between the fee of £65 current fee, the statutory fee. Is that?
Yeah, so that would be just the base level. That's a fee that if you pay early, So it kind of means the same thing, but if you pay early, that you get it reduced to £250, and then if it's 14 days, if it's paid after those 10 days.
Just the £100 is described as a statutory fee, and I didn't know.
That's how it was listed on our charges and fees. So that's why I've labelled it as the same thing. So on our fees that we had previously, that's what it was listed at. So that's why I kept the same name on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Flowers.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Belen. I'm interested in the fly tipping, £600 and £1,000 paid, obviously, they don't pay within those 10 days. Just interested to know, is that the highest amount that we can do? Have we been able to benchmark with other authorities to see that? I wonder, are we still using cameras? Obviously, you don't have to get where they are. Are we still using cameras to try and catch people out in known areas? Because I've known the amount of tyres that get dumped. But also, I just thought the higher amount, bigger the shock. Because I'm sure all around we're seeing pockets of the flight individuals. I just welcome your thoughts. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Yeah, of course. So that is the maximum that we can do. So that was introduced as part of legislation that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak had announced. So that is the highest that we can do. And we do still use the cameras. We've got a few deployed. We actually deployed one today based on some intelligence from the police. So one was deployed somewhere based on some information from the police. So yeah, that we do still use those cameras. We are still that, especially with the AI cameras that we previously told this meeting about. We are still testing them out. There's still some things that we are finding, okay, this isn't working, so we're moving them, and that's based off the hotspot data that we have.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just with going on from Councillor Fowler, how much does fly tipping cost of that? And is there anything, obviously, Peter just said, is it the highest that we can charge? Is there any social media or news reporting that we can put out that North Warwickshire Borough is taking a real stand and are charging the highest fees on fly tipping? Because it's a massive, massive issue. And I know I've had to ring county previously over the weekend. And it was going to cost £2,000 to go and collect some fly tipping because it had human waste in it. And again with asbestos waste as well. How much does it cost the council all in all on a yearly basis? Firstly.
I can get those figures from Streetscape, so I can get those sent over to you. We did have it in a board report a couple of months back, but I can double check those updated figures because they're not with our team. So I'll collect that for you, and if I send that over to your email, if that's okay. And yes, of course, we can definitely do comms. If this is agreed, we can do comms on social medias starting September, and we usually do a campaign in around September as people are clearing out their waste and having a new start to autumn. Yeah, we usually do a bit of a campaign. We'll definitely try to advertise this as well.
Yeah. Any more? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just want to say I really welcome this. Obviously, being a rural councillor, a lot of our names around Seckington, for example, have gone to him. So I think we should do the maximum we can do to deter this because it really does upset residents, and obviously they're paying for it.
Thank you. So yeah, so we've talked. So Councillor Hobley talked about making sure we publicise this to make sure people know what the penalties are. That's really important. And I'd put another plea forward, which is that we make it easy for people to report fly tipping or littering, and particularly dog waste. That instead of going through the call centre, we have a direct way of people reporting it. Okay, thanks, Councillor Wapples, and then Councillor Simmons.
Yeah, just to carry on from Councillor Fowler and Hobley. It's interesting if figures are similar in the borough to Katie's £2,000 from the county. How I think it needs to be more precise that it's costing more than we're actually getting the fine to to get rid of it if those figures are correct for the borough, because obviously Katie quoted county, but if the figures are similar, which I'm guessing they probably are, then I think that message needs to go out that we're taking a hit even with a fine that's been increased to the maximum, and I think perhaps that message needs to be sort of given out really. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simmons.
Thank you, Chair. And just a question regarding reporting. Obviously, we want people to report it as much as possible, and we use communities that do that. But to have a fixed penalty notice, do people have to be seen in the act, or can it be someone from as a member of the public report and that fixed penalty notice be issued? As we heard earlier, there was very few fixed penalty notices that have been actually issued by us, and perhaps that's why there is so much, because the deterrent isn't out there and known, hence the increased publicity, as Councillor Hobley suggested. It worries me. In recent time, if you're only going to fly 2 or 3 people a year, it isn't going to have an impact. The concern I have is that there are a lot of members of the public that I've reported, we have seen, this is the reg number, this is what, these are photographs. How do we take those forward?
Through you, Chair. Yes, no, I completely agree. If a member of the public is willing to provide us with a witness statement to something that they've witnessed, we do take those forward. And even if it's on private land, one of the fixed penalty notices that we're recommending is based on evidence found on private land. We will take those we will investigate those. That based on that witness statement, we will call that person in for an interview under caution, and then based off the interview caution, we'll make a decision with legal on what the next steps are on those. Yeah, but I completely agree. I think that the more people report things to us, the more aware that they are that we will do something about it, and hopefully now with the environmental crime officer that's dedicated to this, we are able to do more.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler, then Councillor Singh.
Thank you once again, Chair. Interesting as well from what Councillor Simmons has just said. I was actually just thinking as various comments are being made, which I'm sure people may have seen, clips on Twitter and other such things. In fact, I actually saw one last week, a very brave man who actually stopped and made 2 people actually put all the stuff back into their van. Which I thought was quite amusing, but what a brave man as well. But it is good to see that people are able to potentially discreetly film people and then report it to the police. And talking of the police, I think nowadays as well that we're doing a bit more with confidence of what they call naming and shaming. So I'm just wondering are the police and whoever, when people that have been convicted of flight tipping and heavily fined, can those people be named and shamed? So we can see who they are and their names as well for the people, especially in their area. Thank you, Chair.
Through you, Chair. Yes, we can. We had 2 prosecutions that the police led on in Maxstoke, and based off that, we provided because our team are the ones that the Streetscape team cleared it from the council, we sent those charges to them, and that's something that they're paying towards. We do try to advertise it. I think you're right, we can do a better job on that, and that's something that we are focusing on. And yeah, that is something that we are looking into, and that naming and shaming and making people aware that we have these good cases and we've got good news stories.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Singh.
Yeah, I support this recommendation, but can we also advertise the fact that the Borough Council do pick up I think it was 5 items of furniture or mattresses or sofas or whatever at a nominal cost, maybe that would reduce flight tipping. So people can, just ring up the council and say, we got this to get rid of. Could you send the van? Help a bit be advertised. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's called our bulky waste collection. Really, can we do some advertising on the wall so people are aware?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Do you have any more questions or comments? Thank you. So the recommendation is that the board support an increase in fixed penalty notice as set out in the report, and the amended changes that take place first of September. Proposed seconded by Councillor Hobley. Those in favour? Any against? Right, thank you very much. Carried. So the next item, item 9, just to say that recommendation D talks about a small member group, and we've got some terms of reference for that group, which are they already on the table? Yeah, which should be in front of you. Hopefully you've had a chance to have a quick look through them. If you need a minute, just say so, but they're there just so you know a bit more about that recommendation before we start on this item. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Kath James because she's just going to introduce this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm conscious there's quite a number of faces in the room that were at the member briefing last week. I'm also conscious there are some that weren't. So I'll try to be as robust as I can be in terms of going through it. But if members do have any questions after that introduction, then please bring them forward. So where are we now? So in terms of our current facilities, we've got some ageing facilities, we've got some temporary facilities, and I think the council has been looking for some time at options as to how we take some of that forward. Notwithstanding that, a lot of our leisure provision is about impacting health and the wider health determinants as well. And at the moment, we feel that with some new facilities and some new focus that we can improve on that as we go forward. The council undertook a piece of work called the Strategic Outcome Planning Model in 2020, which runs through this report. And one of the key things that came out through the C&E board work was that the basic business case for the new builds in Atherstone and Polesworth were predicated on creating revenue efficiencies going forward that would help us to service that borrowing and affordability. We've had a pre-feasibility stage, which we've been preparing a lot of work to bring this report forward. And what it really does is details that we want to go into that detailed feasibility stage. This is where we undertake a number of the site investigations, we do some more work around the design stages. So the council can be really clear as to what it might want in the future and what that's likely to look like. And that stage will probably take us through to the end of the kind of winter period. And the report clearly lays out that at this stage, there's no firm decisions on any of these things, but what we will do post the feasibility stage is to bring back to council a full options analysis and appraisal, at which point you'll be able to make some more informed decisions about how these areas of the project will progress. The first recommendation talks around predominantly giving some delegated authority to myself through a team of officers, including legal, to have a look at what the best route to market would be in terms of design and build or development options going forward. I was at pains to point out last week and will point out again that authority isn't to agree the designs, that is simply to bring a partner on board to work with us and to go through a procurement process to make sure we get value for money. In terms of what those new facilities look like, that will form work with the sounding board that the chair just mentioned, and also will form reports coming back to this committee. So there's plenty of opportunity to comment on those. There are a number of different options that the council has in terms of going to market, but we've highlighted the design and build two-stage route and the developer options as the best. There's a lot of detail in the report, but the DBOM approach is not liked by the market anymore, and certainly in terms of the council taking the lead, I know you've done things in the past, but we don't really carry the kind of property expertise, and we feel that an external partner will service the council in a better way. And that detailed feasibility stage is really, really important. Certainly for anyone looking at the site in Polesworth. We've chosen that site. I know there was some discussion last week about alternative sites, but we really do need to focus in to almost rule that site out in the first instance. And we want to get on. This is another reason why we want that recommendation agreed. Is we really want to get out and get that detailed feasibility and those investigations started as soon as practicable. And also in terms of Atterston, the council has previously bid into the Levelling Up Fund, and unfortunately the council hasn't been successful in the past. And at the budget setting meeting in February, members agreed an additional 750,000 to continue to develop options around that aspiration. So again, that detailed feasibility stage will be about moving some of those things forward. The survey costs are estimated at around £60,000 for Polesworth. We have monies already for developing the project, so we have the funds to go ahead with that. And with Atherston, we're slightly more developed because we put in the Lough bid. We'd already developed and done a lot of those investigation studies. But obviously at the time, we were also talking about co-partnering with the NHS and with the county around libraries. Unfortunately, both of those partners, whilst they were happy to work with us, and they're still happy to work with us, but in terms of being able to commit funding, they themselves are under significant pressure and wouldn't be able to put in individual funding towards this project. The NHS have been a little more accommodating in the sense that they do have a property team where they are happy to have a further discussion with us to see if there's any merit in looking at the disposal of some assets, which might fund some of this. But again, that will form the continuing work as part of that feasibility stage as we go forward. So the original plans that some members may have seen that went in as far as the Lough bid, the new revised plans will be slightly different. And they could include looking at a heavy refurbishment, as we call it. A lot of the things around the pole is the mechanical and electrical works. It's very old at the moment. We really do need some new kit in there. And we'll also look at a new build option. We'll look at a bit of a hybrid option, which will be extending the existing facility. But again, part of this work is being able to come back and bring members those options as part of that appraisal in due course. The report talks very much around the affordability and investment strategy. I touched on that, where we have to ensure that the borrowing costs from each new facility can be met in future years. And as it stands at the moment, being able to do that would apply regardless of whether we continue to provide services in-house, whether we externalise them, whether we do a LAPCO. That affordability criteria is quite critical to the project. And the report also talks about, there's probably quite a number of limited ways really that you can create significant savings in the leisure contract, but they would include things like reducing costs, improving productivity, increasing income. The report also talks about some benchmarks, and as it currently stands, the in-house provision tends to be in areas significantly higher than what we think we could get in the market in terms of best value. And also as part of the work in 2020, members evaluated 3 models, which was the in-house model, the external contractor and a local trust. When the decision was taken to consider externalising the service in 2020, we were literally going into COVID, which was a very, very, very volatile time. And the committee took the sensible decision to take a very cautious approach to contracts at that time. But in terms of moving forward, members said, well, let's look at a business case around a LAPCO. Let's look for whatever efficiencies we can make in the meantime. At that time, there was also a VAT advantage to the council that's set out in the report. HMRC made a ruling in 2023 that said that VAT advantage no longer applies to just the council. So that playing field has now been levelled. And in terms of going forward, we think that strategic modelling is probably still sound. And we've got Lisa Forsyth on the screen, who's one of our technical consultants who's working with us. And the current market conditions are very buoyant. The market itself, in terms of leisure provision, has bounced back quite considerably since COVID. And they're very keen to look at what opportunities exist with local authorities at the moment. So whereas in 2020, you were facing everything going into lockdown, we're now facing the reverse of that. So it's a very good market condition and time to consider the future operating model. And as I said, the tax advantages are no longer there. The previous evaluation matrix is still very, very relevant. And we feel that the recommendation in the report, which would be to go out for a 10-year contract plus 5, which also our neighbours in Bedworth are currently exploring at the moment, we feel that should maximise the revenue position, which will support the funding of the project moving forward. And the report sets out the advantages and disadvantages to that type of contract and model. If it's too short, the market can't really have a length of time to ameliorate their risk over and their investment over. As part of our soft market testing, the 10 plus 5 is a relatively well-used model, and we think would fit quite well in terms of what we're trying to get out of the market at the moment. There is a timescales table within the report. And we've always heavily caveated this table. We're at the feasibility stage. That could move. We were at pains last week to say that, but that sets out what we think if we move forward with the construction timetable, that as we suddenly look at it at the moment, that we could in effect have something on site for early 2027, if not late 2026. And again, Atherstone, depending on what the new configuration and the new build would look like, that would follow probably about 6 months after that. But this timetable, as I said, could move quite considerably. In terms of an operator, what we want to do is start to test the market, start to understand what operators are interested, because the design of those new facilities and whatever income and return an operator can get will be interlinked. So it's really important that this timetable allows us to be able to get that input from the market at the same time you might be considering those final designs. Because what you don't want to do is to design something the market's on, well, if you'd done that, that would have been much better for us in terms of service delivery and in terms of funding. So the timetable has been laid out, hopefully to enable us to capture that interchange of ideas. The report also talks around finance, some of which I've touched upon. At the moment, we've got in the order of £5.4 million. Some of that is predicated on Section 106 monies within Polesworth, but we believe that's a sum of money that we are aware of through more budget from the council and indeed through 106 to be able to develop some designs around Polesworth. There's £3 million in the existing budget for the leisure facilities at Atherstone. And again, we've got an additional £750,000 to carry on that design work to see where we can get to with that. Another recommendation in the report also refers to the VAT ruling. So in essence, because HMRC changed the regulations and they changed the rules around VAT, they also gave a receipt back to those councils that have been charged that. And we received a sum of £471,655. The recommendation in the report is that that money now gets ring-fenced into the leisure project as part of our ongoing budgetary considerations. We talked as well in the report about risk. We do have a robust corporate risk management process, but this as we move further in each stage, we'll build on that risk profile and we'll pay very close attention to the risks as they move within the project. And that's something that we will bring back to members so that you're cited to the key risks as we take those decisions. The most significant risks at the moment that need to be mitigated immediately are around the feasibility. That's the site surveys, which include ground conditions, highway surveys, that sort of thing, planning policy requirements, and affordability criteria. It would be remiss of us as well not to offer members options within the report. We want to be really positive and take this forward, but there are options where, in fact, the council could, at this stage, choose to do nothing and to not continue to pursue the project. You could just agree to carry on with the feasibility stage, or option 3, you push the review of facilities back. But given the ageing facilities, given the issues that we have, we wouldn't recommend that to you at this stage. And also, just to say that leisure is a non-statutory service within the council. There isn't an obligation to provide leisure facilities, but clearly there's an ambition to do more. So the recommendations to the board are, there are 5 recommendations, but perhaps I'll pass back to the chair now for questions and then to go through those in detail as we progress.
Thanks very much, Kath.
Thanks, Chair. First question really is just to clarify. You mentioned that 106 money that needs to be spent in Polesworth is going to be used to support the project. Is that correct?
I understand that there is some 106 money that would be available to use on this project, yes.
To be spent in Polesworth?
Yes.
Thank you. The second part to my question, from the terms of membership for the group, I appreciate where you've got the idea from for this, but I'm just a little bit concerned that a lot of the members of the areas concerned aren't in this group, and it would be really useful for example, Councillor Parsons, Councillor Chapman, just to name a few that aren't actually on this Community Environment Board, but they are very, important people to have a stakeholder seat, I think. So I'm just wondering if we can just look at that, because I do feel that might be relevant going forward. I understand where you've come from with this, and I do think we do need some reining in, but I do also think that we need to think about who needs to be at the table, if you know what I mean. Thank you.
Can I just respond to that first of all? So, obviously, decisions, this group will not be a decision-making body, right? This group will make decisions, probably, well, I say possibly not decisions, they will make recommendations, because lots of what we do will have to go to exec board and probably full council something. So that process is not undermined at all. This is going to be a very small group, 4 people, because it's just going to be a sounding board. This is what we're thinking of doing. Have you got an input? So, I don't normally do groups in this sort of forum, but we are suggesting that you might be interested in, and that Councillor Amelia might be, and a couple I'll be there, and one other from ours. So, and part of the role of those people in that group is to disseminate information out and bring it back in. But we are keeping the group tight, because it's just going to be a small group of people saying, and it will be representing the Polesworth area and Anston actually. So therefore, that's the idea. We've had a lot of input from legal on this, I have to say, and they are quite specific about how the group must be formed. So we haven't got a lot of leeway on that, but I think it'll work. So, okay. Sorry, so you probably haven't finished. Sorry, I just interrupted you on that one.
No, that's fine for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just have a point of clarity as well? If it was to become a LATCO, would it still be entitled to the ring fence funding? Would that? So if it became a LATCO, that Sorry, I've gone wild.
Yeah, it's there, page 471.
Yeah, so would that become part of the funding for the LATCO?
Sorry, Chair. So when HMRC made the ruling, they then gave some of the local authorities that had paid some of that VAT, that 471,000 back. So that 471,000 is not designed to go towards the LATCO. That can go to, that will just be ring fenced now within the council. We've received that check and we can use that for whatever element of this project we want to. Our suggestion at the moment is, you know, obviously we need to bring that full options appraisal, and we will suggest ways in which that money will be spent potentially in the future, but it's not ring fenced to the LATCO. It's just a sum of money that's now within the council.
Can I just come back on that? But could we use it to? So what I'm trying to say, sorry, I'm not explaining myself very well. So if we did do a LATCO for this, would we be able to use that £400,000 towards the project still? That's what I'm. Sorry, I didn't word my question very well. I apologise.
Yes, regardless of whether the council does this in-house, externalises it, or formed a LATCO, you can use that money towards the new project.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I forgot me for a minute.
Quite all right, Chair. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I mean, I am pleased with the way lots of what I've heard tonight, and that is good. You know, I'm glad that there is a sense of urgency because it's needed. I appreciate that we do not have a statutory obligation to this, but we have an enormous moral obligation that is very clear. As part of the local plan approved by this council, Polesworth and Dawn are set to become the largest community in North Warwickshire. There have been in excess of 500 houses built in Polesworth over the last 3 or 4 years. There are destined to be 1,300 houses going up the hill in the Roby's Lane development in the not very distant future. We cannot pour these people into this area, into what is a vacuum without facilities. You know, if we look at our neighbouring towns, Coleshill has its sports centre. Atherstone, yes, has a creaking sports centre, as it were, and is absolutely vital that is refurbished and brought on. I speak as somebody who, for many years, was a voluntary swimming teacher for Atherstone Swimming Club in the swimming pool there, and taught a lot of local children to swim. They didn't let me go with the decent competitive swimmers because I don't think I was good enough. But that was what I did and what I enjoyed, and that was good. We need these facilities. They're absolutely vital. I have a granddaughter who is an aspiring gymnast and quite a talented gymnast. If the facilities aren't there, these individuals are denied any chance of actually allowing their talents to flourish and progress. We all sit back and cheer and you know, feel the good feeling that goes along with Olympic achievement and all the rest of it. But it doesn't happen without facilities. It doesn't happen without effort. And we have an obligation to take our part in that. At the moment, we are failing in some respects. I appreciate that these facilities are budgeted for. I've been told for many, many years that there is £3 million sitting in the budget for the Polesworth Sports Centre, but that's what it's doing. It's sitting in the budget. It's not growing, it's diminishing every single year. And that is why I do appreciate that there is some sense of urgency in this. But, you know, we really have got to get our act together on this, because otherwise our local plan is a plan of failure in terms of infrastructure and facilities that it provides. And there is no other way of expressing that. It will be a failure if we do not get this sorted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and agreed, basically. So, yeah, absolutely. And I know it seems that, you know, we've been start, stop on this, but there is a momentum now, and it's so important that we just try and keep to this timetable that's been set out in this report. It's tough, but we've got to keep going forward. Absolutely, absolutely agree. Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Chair. Just looking at the report, and I was looking at Polwarth and Atherstone, and I was seeing new gym, multi-purpose studios, and it just came across my mind thinking, we've just had the Olympics, and you've seen on TV about young boys and girls getting into certain things, adapt, dance, gymnastics, etc. And I guess we already do this, but I'm thinking for these two moving forward, do we liaise with schools and other groups that do different things so we can ensure that if there isn't something that's about in the area, could we facilitate that within our units, which is, I just thought that would be very helpful, because that Olympics really did, as you can see from young children, it inspired so many.
I will pass over to Michael or Kat on this, but absolutely we must do that. But I think I'm duty bound to say, repeat what Kath said, that whoever's going to run our leisure facilities needs to advise us on what will bring in the revenue. It's not enough to say we want to do it if we can't afford it. And, you know, with borrowing the money, we've got to pay it back. So there will be a commercial element to all the decisions on what goes in our leisure centres. But it's in the interest of all of us to do what the majority of the people want. So, you know, it works both ways. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Kath or Mike.
Only to say that as we go through, and we're obviously in the feasibility stage at the moment, you know, as you come to planning, we'll have pre-planning consultation, all those sorts of things. So, you know, we're quite happy to get a wide range of views as part of that consultation process. But, you know, all of that would then need to come into the overarching mix of what you need, how that's going to work out. But we would certainly want to try and get as much input as we can, so that will certainly benefit the borough.
Thank you. See, oh, right, okay, thank you. I know we have lots of time to discuss this on Tuesday for those people that were there. Oops, sorry. So, if everybody happy to go on to the recommendations, Kath's gone through them, but I'll just very quickly go through them. So, delegated authority to award a contract for the design and for the partner to undertake a feasibility and potential design to Polwarth. A procurement contract 5 to manage the operation of the leisure centres, develop a detailed business case for a new leisure facility in Atherstone, obviously costings and all that sort of stuff, and a small member group, which obviously I'll talk to you about that, Councillor Reary, but yeah, we'll agree on that one. And then this business about the 471,000+ there, which will just go into the leisure project, whatever it's needed for. So we won't let anybody else in the council nick it. That's for us. Right, okay. So sorry, Alison, that's a technical term. Right, we've got a proposer for that, please. Thank you, Councillor Singh. Seconded by Councillor Amelia. Those in favour? Thanks. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Brilliant. Thanks very much. Lovely. Oh, thank you. So item 10 is the budgetary control report for April to June, first quarter. So I'm just going to open it up to questions. Anybody's got any questions on this one? It's not easy to predict the end at this time, but they've done the best. Do you want to say anything, Alison? You okay?
I think you're absolutely right. It's 3 months into the year. It's quite difficult to forecast at this stage. When we bring the next monitor, we'll have at least 6 months of sort of operating then, so we'll have more information in it. You'll keep an eye on some of the areas that we've highlighted now, and if we need to address them, we'll address them at that time.
Lovely. Thank you.
Sorry. Thanks, Chair. Can I just have a point of clarity? is the domestic collection, does that include bulky waste? I'm just trying to see if there's anything, as we were talking about earlier, of the cost of the bulky waste collection versus the cost of fly tipping and them costs that can all be shown to sort of move some sort of social media campaign moving forward. That's why I asked.
Yeah. I would assume so. Can't see anywhere else, but
I think it is, because just looking at those lines, I can't think that it would be anywhere else, but I'll confirm definitely for you. I can't see that it would sit on any other line, so that would make sense for it to be there.
thank you.
And can I just because it's been mentioned twice, this bulky waste collection, it might be an opportunity at some point for councillors to understand the way the bulky waste collection happens and the fact that we are in partnership with a really good charity. Is it called Emmaus? Emmaus. And they collect it on our behalf. They have an office they have a centre in Coventry, and they bring homeless people in, give them a uniform. They refurbish anything that can be refurbished and sold. They earn money, and they also get money saved on their behalf, so that at some point they're able to go out and get their own accommodation. So it's a really good project, and I visited it some years ago now and was very impressed. But just a note on that at some point would be really interesting, because new councillors might not even know about it.
What was that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good partnership that we've got there. So great, thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'm aware, of course, this is a budgetary report. Two questions, if I may, is that I have found and identified that within what we call trade waste, but there are some of our bins that have North Warwickshire on there, but it doesn't have the words trade waste. And I found that out by a situation in Coldshill, which we thought was trade waste, but it turned out to be for residential block. I was informed, I just want to say when it's going to happen, that we are due to have some stickers or whatever it is to actually put on the bins to identify which is trade waste and which is for residential use. And on the matter of streetscape with grass cutting, is there any way we can look to remove litter before we grass cut? I'm sure in other areas it must be the same. In my particular area, a place called Station Road, and other areas, we see the grass cutting being done, and what you get left, as Councillor Simmons will identify as well, particularly on the 446, which I know is a combination of the county council as well, but wind and what have you, you just see what I call confetti litter, and it's been going on for 16 odd years, for my knowledge, maybe longer. And I'm just looking for Streetscape to say, can we look at removing litter, in short, before we grass cut, to save us having confetti litter, to make the areas look better, which is what we actually put money in for. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. If you can.
I'll certainly take that point back to Streetscape. There's nothing more disconcerting than trying to pick up litter that's been cut. It's a lot easier to pick it up before you cut it, in all honesty. But certainly, you'll take that offline with me and the areas. I'm
Most
happy
great.
to pick that up.
Thank you, Chair.
Emma, thanks.
Thank you. I just want to say at this point, thank you to Streetscape, because I think they are sometimes the heroes that aren't really championed very much, and they do an amazing job. They're outstanding with very little resources, and I don't think sometimes some people appreciate how much they have to do. They have to cover the whole borough with very little, resources, which is, obviously a sign of the times and so on. But I just really, really want to praise them, because the work that they do, they're always so amenable. Lorna and the team, they're just amazing, and I just think, they're unsung heroes. So I'd just like to publicly say that, really. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure that they'll much appreciate that. We did actually, in the last budget, put more money into Streetscape, didn't we? So I'm not saying it's enough resource then, but we've given as much as we can. And yeah, absolutely.
And can I just add on that? If we've, in Hartsell, we're really, really lucky. We've got a dedicated community litter picking group. And just for any councillors that don't know, if your communities do want to set up a litter picking, I mean, ours are fantastic, aren't they, Margaret? They are the best in North Warwickshire, but you know, I might be a bit biased. The council will provide these groups with the equipment needed to litter pick. So if anybody does know of any groups and didn't know how to do it, it's really, really great for and it's something that to feel like you're giving back to the community if we want to advertise it. Thank you.
And we'll also pick up the bags afterwards.
Yes.
Peter, and then.
Chair, just very quickly, I'd like to echo the comments that were made about Streetscape. They are excellent guys, and they've done a lot, certainly for my area of Coleshill North. And you're quite right on litter picking. I'm out with our church group, and there are other litter picking groups and actual people that actually go out on their own and litter pick as part of the community. So I think between the community and Streetscape, pretty good job. I'd just like to get that litter picked up before the grass cutting, but thank you.
Andy.
So, thank you, Chair. I was going to echo the compliment for Streetscape as well. They did do a fantastic job. And the example I wanted to give was that recently some grass cutting in my ward, the screening was missed around some benches, so people couldn't sit on the benches. As soon as we reported it, they came back the next day and just right. So I think that was really fantastic service. But the point I'm raising is when I brought that issue up, I was told that the problem was written because there was a shortage of staff, and as you could look at 5.2, it refers to the staffing shortage there. I think that while that's saving us money, yes, and which probably offset the pay award, if we haven't got the staff, we're not getting the service, and I just wondered what steps we're taking to fill those vacancies so that we haven't got that problem.
Thank you, Chair. We do struggle with agency staff coming into the summer season because everybody wants them. But we do try to work with various agencies. We go to the local colleges, that sort of thing. But we have had a number of vacancies filled over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully we won't see that shortage. We're certainly not trying to save money in that regard.
No.
We've got some money there to spend. And the other thing is, Chair, you mentioned the additional money that's been put in for street cleansing this year. If anybody's got particular areas, particular issues, then please bring them forward, because we've got this hit squad, I call them the hit squad type arrangement. We've got the new steam cleaner that we've purchased with that money. We've certainly had some requests to go out, but you know, we can accommodate other requests. So if members are interested, then please just drop a note into the Streetscape inbox or contact one of the officers, and we'll make sure that gets picked up for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to go back on your point about having difficulty with vacancy filling, have you explored any ideas of using the community payback team to bridge any gaps? Because we've used them as a parish council, that again, phenomenal for the service. I know it's a cost. Well, sometimes they'll do a short amount for free, but you know, you have to think of it as a cost really. But they are really good value for money, and I'm just wondering if there's any sort of bridging that we could do with that, if you haven't thought of it already. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, I'm happy to look into that. We've not done any at the moment, but we'll make a note of that as well.
Thank you. Lovely. Thank you very much. So we just need to find sorry, what the recommendation is. So if somebody could help me by reading out the recommendation, that'd be really helpful. I've got the papers in a mess. No, that's mine.
Considering.
Yeah, I think it's just to note, is it? Yeah. So we're asked to note that report. Can I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Fowler, seconded by thank you, Councillor Jackson. Sorry, Michaela. I was going to say Councillor Michaela then. And those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Thank you, that's correct. So our last report then is on the UK SPS, and I'm going to expect you to introduce that one.
Yeah, so not really much to say on this. It is just the minutes of one of our panel meetings. So just to say, I'm sure members are aware that with the UKSPF and we got an additional amount from Rural England, we had just under 2.5 million to invest in North Warwickshire over a 3-year period, and that finishes in March 25. The spend has to be under the priorities of communities in place, supporting local business and people and skills. And to date, we've managed to fund about 85 projects. So ranging from everything to play areas, to access and security in our green spaces, employment support, teenage markets, local farms, and funding to support market towns. So there's been a huge array of projects that have been put forward. We've tried to keep the process and the decision making as simple as possible. Having experienced things like LEADER, we thought it best to kind of keep it so anyone can apply. We've got a panel meeting coming up on the 18th of September. The deadline for applications will be the 30th of August. And we're still open for applications across the whole board. So we're happy to accept any application.
Thank you. Have you got any questions? Councillor Fowler and then Councillor Jackson, was that you? Yeah. Fowler first, Jackson and Councillor Waffles.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at agenda item 11, and I'm seeing the approved, etc. But I think might be helpful, Becky, if I think we did talk about in our group that if we could see the list of the work that was done in each area and also the cost of the work that was done, that would enable us to know and all members to see what was spent. So I think looking across the chamber as well, I think there's nods there. So that would be very welcome. Thank you.
It might prompt people in other areas to think, oh, we could do that as well, if they saw it. So that would be. So I don't know whether there's a place on our website that we could use. That might be the best place, or maybe put a list in each group room as well. So yeah, that'd be Kayla.
I'm just wondering what sort of things we can apply for and whether we could apply in that comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, as long as it fits in those 3 areas, we've got quite a comprehensive guide and notes on the website. It gives you an idea about what it can be spent for and what it can't. Rural England is just capital spend, whereas UKSPF can be a little bit of both. I would say out of that 2.5 million, we've allocated 1.8 already. So I'll say if you want to get an application in, get it in quick. And hopefully by the end of next time, we should be fully allocated on that spend. But we can have a conversation outside.
Yeah, no, that'd be lovely.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, that's why I was nodding furiously at Councillor Fowler, because that was part of my point that I was going to raise, that actually it would be really, really useful to have it minuted, because certainly from the Poleswood projects I know have benefited massively, and it would be really great to trumpet what's gone on, because, you know, the civil look and feel that's been going on in Poleswood with all the additional things that we've had brought, and the work of the Poleswood Partnership, which I'll just say thank you to here and now for minuting as well. But yeah, it would be really useful, because it shows what we've had done and how much we've had spent on us, which we're very grateful for. So thank you.
Thanks very much. Any more comments or questions? Yeah, we don't need to vote on that, because that's as the minutes. So that's been very useful, Becky. So thank you. Keep us up to date on those. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. That's the end of the meeting.